Coming up, a fire causes significant damage to the roof and attic of a home in South Fargo. One man is dead after crashing his snowmobile. What we know about the accident. And a North Dakota city is named among the best places in the country to start a small business. Hello and welcome to the Nightly Review. I'm Tom Tucker. We begin with a look at tonight's headlines, then a closer look. The focus tonight is more on the effort by city leaders in Moorhead to get voters to approve a sales tax increase to pay for a new library and community center. Then in tonight's one-on-one conversation, we'll hear from a leader representing a religious coalition in Minnesota speaking out against the push to legalize sports betting in the state. But first tonight, fire investigators are now looking for the cause of a fire which caused significant damage to a home in South Fargo. The fire was first reported just before noon at 2282 57th Avenue South. The home sustained damage to the roof and attic, and homes on both sides of the house sustained minor damage. One person was in the house when the fire broke out but managed to safely escape. Fire crews took about 30 minutes to put out the blaze. No injuries are reported. The FBI's Fargo office is warning of an increase in business-related internet scams in the area. The scams, described as business email compromise, target businesses and individuals in order to transfer funds out of their accounts. The scam often happens when a legitimate email address is compromised after a user clicks a malicious attachment or a link in a spam or phishing email. You're reminded not to click on anything in an unsolicited email or text message asking you to update or verify account information. The City of Fargo and Gate City Bank are offering low-interest loans for homeowners to pay for needed repairs. The $2 million is offered through the Neighborhood Revitalization Initiative. To qualify, homes must be at least 40 years old, must be occupied by their owners, and the assessed value must be less than $250,000, among other requirements. The deadline to apply is October 31st. To learn more, check out the story online at WDAYRadioNow.com. The Fargo Police Department hosting Coffee with a Cop on Tuesday. The program is aimed at building stronger relationships between law enforcement officers and residents. It's sponsored by the Community Outreach Programs and Services Unit, also called COPS. The event Tuesday afternoon at 1 o'clock takes place at the Caribou Coffee on 13th Avenue East. By the way, tonight Police Chief Dennis Otterness will present his 2021 crime report to the City Council. Representative Ruth Buffalo, North Dakota's first Native American Democratic female lawmaker, will be the featured speaker at Concordia College's commencement ceremony on Sunday, May 1st. The ceremony begins at 2 in the afternoon. Buffalo and composer Edie Hill will receive honorary degrees during the commencement ceremony. The personal finance website Wallet Hub says Williston, North Dakota is the 7th best small city in the country to start a business. Wallet Hub compared more than 1,300 U.S. cities with fewer than 100,000 residents. They evaluated 18 key metrics, including small business growth rates, access to financing, investor access, and labor costs. A representative for an animal rights group is alleging poultry processor Northern Pride in Thief River Falls mistreated injured turkeys after a rollover crash.
Unfortunately, the federal government itself is not going to take any criminal or civil action on this incident for these birds, and that's why action under state cruelty to animals laws is really the animal's only real hope for protection and some small measure of justice.
PETA is now calling for a criminal investigation into the treatment of the injured turkeys after the rollover accident November 5th. The general manager for Northern Pride says the birds were placed in an enclosed, heated environment and were processed the next scheduled day of operation under federal inspection. The North Dakota Highway Patrol says a 59-year-old man died from injuries sustained in a snowmobiling accident in Harvey. The crash happened yesterday afternoon. We're told the rider hit a berm of packed snow and ice, and the snowmobile went airborne and the man was thrown off. The name of the man who died has not yet been released. The South Dakota Department of Health says syphilis rates are skyrocketing. As of the latest update from the Health Department's monthly infectious disease dashboard, syphilis is up a staggering 1,800%, with 257 cases reported so far this year. Over the past 5 years, the median number of cases each year is 13 cases. No reasons given for the significant increase in the number of cases. April is STD Awareness Month. And a Minnesota husband and wife visiting family in Mexico were killed when a group of armed individuals on motorcycles shot them at the tourist destination of Puerto Escondido. The double homicide happened April 7th. Family in Minnesota have identified the victims as 48-year-old Leticia Carrillo and 49-year-old Miguel Abrego. The couple lived in Coon Rapids. In a closer look tonight, citizens in Moorhead are being asked to approve a half-cent increase in the sales tax to pay for building a new library and community center. According to one study, the tax hike would amount to about $25 a year for the average citizen. Mayor Shelley Carlson and other city leaders, including the library director, are asking citizens to support the project.
Well, we know that people, the community, would like a vibrant new location, preferably downtown. We know that the community would like space to attend events at the library, more and better meeting spaces, a larger and improved children's area for families. That's just a sample, I guess, of what we know the community wants.
Megan Krueger, while appearing on WDAY's Bonnie and Friends this morning, said the current library was built back in 1961 and says the building has issues with the foundation, plumbing, and lighting. A possible location for a new library and community center has not yet been selected, but Krueger says she favors a downtown location. She was asked who currently uses the library.
Well, who doesn't go to the library? That's the question that you should be asking. Really, everybody visits the library. People of all backgrounds, people of all socioeconomic situations. You know, people come to the library to check out books, obviously, every day, but they're also there, you know, looking for jobs, attending events, just coming in to print something off. We have wireless printing and notary services, so tax forms, you know, things like that. So people are coming in every day for all sorts of different things.
Citizens will decide whether to approve the sales tax increase November 8th. Residents who want to learn more about the proposed new community center and library can attend open houses at the Moorhead Center Mall, set for tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock and tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Weather-wise, the question is there any more snow in the forecast? Meteorologist Justin Storm has answers from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Thanks, Tom. We'll see mostly clear conditions continuing throughout this evening, and the windy conditions from earlier will finally lighten up. The wind will go light and variable throughout tonight, with lows in the upper teens to lower 20s across the area. A little light patchy fog will be possible into early Tuesday morning. And then clouds roll back in. Another partly sunny to mostly cloudy afternoon on Tuesday. Highs in the lower 40s with southeast wind around 15 to 30 miles per hour. And overnight Tuesday into early Wednesday morning, we'll see a rain-snow mix push into the area. That will turn over to some scattered rain showers and then push out of the area by Wednesday afternoon. It'll leave us with a windy day with mostly cloudy to partly sunny conditions and a high in the mid-40s.
It could happen to you or someone you love. One moment, one diagnosis can change everything. Thankfully, there's a program that helps caring people uplift families through a crisis. Lend a Hand Up, raising financial help and hope through community benefits and online campaigns. A program that boosts generosity so gifts go further. Lend a Hand Up helps you help your neighbors. Learn more and give at lendahandup.org.
Welcome back to the Nightly Review. In tonight's one-on-one conversation, the focus is the push to legalize sports betting in Minnesota. We've already heard from the state representative, Zach Stevenson, who is sponsoring the bill. Tonight, we hear from the other side. Anne Krisnik is the executive director for Minnesota's Joint Religious Legislative Coalition. The group represents faith groups from a wide range of religious perspectives. I first asked her thoughts on the sports betting bill in general.
So we're people of faith that have talked to people in congregations when they are vulnerable and things that they may not share publicly. So we see in our congregations the same thing that the research shows, that a lot of Minnesotans are already negatively impacted by gambling without an expansion. The Wilder research did a study of Minnesotans and found that under current laws, 22% of Minnesotans reported being negatively impacted by someone close to them who was involved in gambling. And so before we look at any broadening of that, I think we are taking the position there's some things we should address first. And if we go ahead, we have some concerns about that as well.
So what would be those things that need to be addressed in your opinion?
Probably the biggest one is the gambling age in Minnesota. So unlike North Dakota, where, a good chunk of your listeners live, those that live in Minnesota, all gambling's lawful at 18 in Minnesota. So they don't have that, you can play bingo at 18, but to gamble, you need to be 21. And so we already see impact on young Minnesotans. They're more vulnerable to become problem gamblers. It seems very much like video gaming that they're used to. And so before we look at any broadening, we need to look at that gambling age. That was recognized actually in the House hearing with the author saying that he'd look at changing the gambling age, but we haven't seen the Senate bill yet. We want to make sure and see that. Another big concern is there isn't a lot of education in Minnesota around gambling. And we know that we're going to hear a lot about how fun and exciting and entertaining it is from the operators, but we want to make sure people are mindful of the risks and kind of the dangers. And then the final one is, the primary final one is that in Minnesota, if I'm the problem gambler, there's a lot of support for me. But if I'm part of a family member or someone who's impacted, there's very little support. The family gets up to 12 hours of family counseling. And when we may have lost our primary breadwinner and our benefits and had our savings wiped out, that's just not nearly enough. So we should fix those things before we do any expansion.
Just to be clear then, your organization is entirely opposed to sports betting, is that correct?
Yes. And we, I don't know that that'll carry the day, but we would prefer not to add another form of gambling. We see that what we already have now is really impacting lower income Minnesotans of color. That same Wilder study looked at the fact that if I have a graduate or professional degree, maybe 0.5% of people were at risk of becoming problem gamblers. But for those people with only a high school diploma or a GED, it was more than 7 times as much. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of studies that say the poorer the neighborhood, the higher the risk of people becoming gambling. When you're low income, it's really tempting to chase this possibility of easy money to address some of the issues that you have. And without that education piece, that's really concerning. So, if some other pieces were in place, perhaps we look at it differently, but we just don't see them.
And I'd like to thank Anne Krisnik from Minnesota's Joint Religious Legislative Coalition for joining me for tonight's one-on-one conversation. The House bill to legalize sports betting has passed through 4 House committees and is currently being reviewed in Ways and Means, and that's typically the last stop before a vote on the floor. Well, that will do it for tonight, Monday, April 18th, 2022. I'm Tom Tucker. Thanks for watching the Nightly Review.